Welcome back to another episode of Nostalgic, a podcast where we take a nostalgic look and rediscover movies new and old. This movie in particular, not new, not old. It might be new to some people, new in the future, perhaps even a classic in the future, some would say. But we are going to talk about Back to the Future turning 40. I got a few gentlemen here joining me on this round robin roundtable discussion of our one of our favorite films. The person that is basically the flux capacitor to this episode. Without him, this podcast episode would not exist. So joining me is a friend of the show, Mikey. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you? Yes, I basically begged you to do this. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically say less. We had a text exchange, and I was a little confused. And what exactly were you asking for? And when you told me, I go, yes, let me reach out to some people. Here we are. So now he sometimes appears in my dreams. Maybe the Sandman, maybe Darth Vader from Planet Vulcan, whatever he may be. He's an absolute dream. Albie from the Quantum Leap podcast and others. We'll have you talk a little bit about that. Hey, Albie.
Hey, Peter. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about Back to the Future. I think my favorite movie of all time. I'm not
Yeah,
alone there.
we kind
I'm
of
basic.
all just discussed this a little bit, but it's been a few years for some of these a couple of you guys' returns. Albie, maybe the last time you came on was to talk about Back in Time, the Jason Aaron documentary.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. And of course, we do our every few year episode of Back to the Future, the animated series podcast. So still jumping
Yes,
around in time there.
yep, absolutely. And then you guys heard him before, probably the last time on the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future. Damn it, Justin, I had something queued up for you. Hold on, let me. Okay, so I said the flux capacitor joke. I said the absolute dream. I definitely had one for you. Albie's was the one I was trying to fine tune prior
He's
to
your
the
density.
recording.
Am I your
He is
density?
my
You
density.
mean
I'll go with
I'm
that.
your destiny?
Justin, Epic Film guys, running all sorts of different social media accounts, including the Burton Bat Cave. I'll let you talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that as well. But how you
sure.
doing, sir?
Amazingly. Can't believe it's been 5 years since we've talked. I
Wow.
honestly feel like the last time we talked was 2 weeks ago. That's how long I've been podcasting and doing this movie review thing. But deeply appreciate the invitation. When you sent me a Facebook message, I was literally watching Back to the Future to
Mhm.
celebrate the 40th anniversary. So, I mean, you couldn't have hit me at a better time. It's just, yeah, I couldn't be happier to be here.
Maybe you could have been leaning on possible if you weren't watching the movie. Like I got you right in the feels at the opportune time there. Yeah, several of us go way back. Albie, you're literally one of the first podcasters. I kind of became friends with. I had the idea of starting a Quantum Leap podcast as well, and then I discovered Quantum Leap podcast when I was going to do the Quantum Leap cast, and I was just like, man, they are too good at what they're doing, and so I didn't even start it. And then you would eventually reach out to several people from many of the episodes you guys reviewed, eventually
Mhm.
getting the golden whatever fill in the blank. You're saying Scott Bakula. You guys finally got
Oh
Scott
yeah.
Bakula at some point. So it's been an incredible journey to follow you on the Quantum Leap side of things. But yeah, a long time Back to the Future friend. Justin, we go way back on several movie drafts on So I Married a Movie Geek and our collaborations of many 80s classics, Predator, to name one, The Wraith, which I still
Yeah,
have the Blu-ray in
absolutely.
my car.
Mhm.
So like anytime like I'm giving somebody a ride and they're like, "Oh, The Wraith, I haven't seen this in a while." I'll be like, "Well, got a episode review with Justin from
There you
Epic Film
go.
Guys."
There
So,
you go.
it's another point of discussion. And matter of fact, I just talked to somebody on Instagram, Zach over at $2 late fees. He posted a picture of him and several movie cars, including the one from the Wraith. So love seeing that. And Mikey, we have some deep Back to the Future experiences, so we'll definitely get to those. But Mikey, starting off with you, since this episode is your idea, were you celebrating as many were yesterday on the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future's release?
So I didn't,
Mhm.
but
I do plan on watching Back to the Future later today with my kids. They actually went to see the musical with my aunt. She took
Oh,
them.
awesome.
It was in Pittsburgh, where I live. It's still running for this week, but yes, so she took them last night. So they're excited, and they came home and they said, I remember watching the movie with you, but we don't remember everything. We want to watch it. I said, we'll definitely do it tomorrow. But yeah, so that's how we're celebrating.
That's an exciting feeling, though. It has to be when your kids are like, I don't remember it. Yeah, we're gonna watch it again.
Yeah.
You know,
Again for the
definitely.
first time. That's a great
Yes.
age. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I have a lot of different t-shirts, and so I have a flux capacitor tattoo, and the 4
Oh
and the
wow.
6-year-old, they know what that is, but they
Mhm.
have yet to sit through this movie. And we're working there, working on the live action. We're slowly transitioning to like the 80s and 90s family movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, things of that nature to kind of get them into actual live action. And we've been doing some of the Disney stuff. So I'm trying to ease them into watching, a sci-fi comedy about Doc and Marty, traveling in time. And I'm already like kind of loathing, if that's the term, having to explain time travel to a 6-year-old. Because my daughter, if you guys thought I was long-winded, holy cow, she will literally ask a question a minute. So, bless her. But I love her fascination and interest in film, and just like sometimes like, honey, if you just watch 5 more seconds, you'll get that answer. Please just um and Albie, yeah, I discovered you with your Quantum Leap podcast,
Mhm.
but please share. Well, you know what, Mikey, let me just go back real quick because I don't know if I know your earliest memory of Back to the Future, and why did you connect with it when you did, and why is it one of your favorite, if not your favorite movie of all time?
So, I've never actually seen a Back to the Future in theaters at all. No, none of them.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, but when it came out, I was almost 5. But my earliest memory is watching it probably in the late '80s. Um, my dad was watching in his bedroom. I was just like laying in front of his bed on the floor, and then I started asking him all these questions like, so he's back in time? How's this work? What's going on? And he's like, just watch the movie, please. I'm trying to relax. And
As dads do, right?
dads
Yeah.
do. And so I became obsessed. I was obsessed with time travel. I don't think I really knew when part 2 or part 3 came out. I definitely watched part 3 before I watched part 2 on like TBS or USA Network on some random weekend. So I
Yeah,
was kind of
same,
spoiled.
same.
And but then when I watched all 3 of them and then I watched all 3 in order, like it was my favorite franchise. It was, I had a lot of friends who were Star Wars fans in the '80s and '90s, and I told them, no offense, but my trilogy is Back to the Future. Not that I hate Star Wars, but it's not my favorite movie franchise. Back to the Future always was. Yeah, and I just think it's very influential. I think anytime anybody does a time travel movie, they use Back to the Future roles, and yeah, so it's just always been my favorite movie, Back to the Future.
Love it. Albie, what about you? And yeah, if you can incorporate like the whole quantum leap thing as well, because like when you find like a new podcast and you try to learn about the host, during a quantum leap podcast, you're not going to start gushing about Back to the Future out of the blue, So that's something I did find out like a little bit kind of down the line, and I do remember after I think you might have just mentioned like your upcoming like guest host for the Back in Time documentary. And I just remember you being like really excited, because it's like it's a chance for you to talk something about Back to the Future when you've been doing just the Quantum Leap podcast the entire time at that point.
Yeah, I don't think I talked much about it at first on those shows. That was more of like an NPR setup kind of show, and we were just sticking to the topic basically. But I've always loved time travel. I don't remember what came first for me. I think I want to say Back to the Future. We could probably look it up. The first time I saw Back to the Future was NBC Night at the Movies. It was in my dad's bedroom, also, Mike, and it was just on that night. And I was like, "What is this? This seems really cool." And I just sat. I don't even think my dad was in there. It just his TV happened to be on, and I sat at the corner of his bed just watching his I think it was a 27-inch TV, and I was just fascinated. And I just had to know more. And back then, you couldn't know more. So fast forward a little while later, I saw the VHS copy in a store, and that's the first thing I bought with my own money. And I just weared it out. Oh. Weared it
That's
out
awesome.
to where you can't watch it anymore. I think I watched it
Oh man.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times.
I love that you still
And
have
then
it though. I love that you
That's
still have
amazing.
yeah,
it.
it's oh, it's the best. I have it in all the formats. That's one of my things. I collect it on every single format I can. I have it on Laserdisc, video CD, 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, all the things. And I even get like different versions that come out, you know. But I was so into it, and you know, I think it was the home video release that said to be continued. So I was
Yes.
always
Yes.
waiting for the second part, but it never came, at least back then. And then so when I heard it was coming to theaters, I was there. I rode my bicycle to the movie theater, and I think I paid a nickel. I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a while ago. But I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Love it. Justin, Albie actually reminded me of your intro. If you want me to tee you up.
Feel free, my friend.
All right. Well,
Have
if
at
we're
it.
living, with Back to the Future rules, this man is rich because you can tell by, I'm sure he has at least two television sets. So, Justin, yeah, there you go. That was going to be your tee. It was going to be a little bit more finessed, but that was
Pete,
going to be yours.
I actually have three.
Wow.
There you go. He's
And one of
wow,
them
he must
is
be really rich.
Albie's
Yeah.
talking about his first VHS copy of Back to the Future. I still have a VHS setup over here, which I've had for years. And when I want to just do my own thing by myself, I come down here and watch my favorite movies on VHS. I got rid of most of my collection, but I kept like a staple of like 25, 30 movies that I'm like, if I just want to throw that shit in, I can throw it in and enjoy it. But it's very interesting. I think it has to do maybe with our age or when we were born, our generation. But I also found Back to the Future on television. I was born in '83. So at 2 years old, I probably was not going to see that in theaters. And it was USA Network. Absolutely. And it's interesting because we're recording this on 4th of July. And 4th of July was always a special day when I was a kid because I knew I'd get to see the Jaws movies or, some Spielberg movies, whatever it may be. And I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I watched Back to the Future in the summer around the same time frame that I watched Jaws for the first time. And I just remember loving it immediately. Now, I'd seen Family Ties, so I knew who Michael J. Fox was. I instantly knew who he was. And I had seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit in theaters in '88, so I knew who Christopher Lloyd was. So I think it just connected with me. Oh, those two guys. Yeah, I love them. This is super cool. And since then, this is absolutely a top 5 of all time movie for me. Every single opportunity that I get the chance to see it in theaters. I work for Alamo Drafthouse, so I do get a lot more opportunities than others do. We sometimes get to screen the first and second movie in theaters, and every single time we do, I'm there because there's no better way to experience the movie on the big screen. So, Mike, if you ever get the chance, ever, it's worth traveling for, whatever you have to do, especially in an audience filled with
Yeah.
it's fans, and fans with their kids, just like you're saying, showing your kids the movie again. It's electric, dude. It's just like seeing it for the first time back in 1985. So I love this movie, and actually, Pete, you and I bonded, I think, first and foremost off of this movie. So once again, thank you for inviting me on for this. I appreciate it.
100%. I mean, any chance I can get any of you guys, but especially you, Justin, because just the love of those 80s movies and even the shittiest ones, we were like, no, this is like a 10 out of 10. What do you, what
I
do you
love the
have to
talk
shitty
about?
ones. I love the
Yeah.
shitty ones
Yeah.
too. Lots of them.
Those are the best. Absolutely. With me, I don't remember what it was that connected me to the franchise. I've always loved the idea of time travel, and I think with Back to the Future, it kind of introduced us to the idea, what if? What if you went back and just changed one little thing? I know The Simpsons did an episode with Homer and stepping on, you guys might remember better than me, but stepping on
Stepping
something
on
and
everything.
changing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He does go back eventually and steps on everything,
Yeah.
just like fuck it. Um, but it was the movie that for some reason I recorded the audio onto a VHS and I would listen to it onto my Talkboy as I go to sleep. I was
Mhm.
that
Your talk
weird kid
boy.
that would
Love that you just threw that in there. You had to.
Yeah,
I had one
I
too,
think
but
we
I love that you
discussed
threw
that.
that in there.
I had an
So-
audio cassette. Where did you
Yeah.
flip it? I flipped mine right after the lunchroom scene and right before Marty was chasing his dad, talking about the
that
book.
could be
I think
right.
That's about the halfway
I
point.
I could not tell you, but that sounds right. But it was it I got to credit doing that for me picking up on kind of things in the background, these visual and audio cues, and that's kind of how I like to do my episode reviews. And I think people from the show, especially, they like that because they work so hard in producing episodes, whether it's Cobra Kai or the things that come. I'm also covering Twisted Metal, so those tiny little Easter eggs, like I kind of cue in a little bit more. I think just from like the years of just listening to the score and just the audio soundtrack of Back to the Future. Probably did it for all three films, but I did not see the first one, I think, until 2015 when they played all three movies on October 21st, 26th, 21st. Guys, help me.
20.
I'm gonna have to check in my card here.
Definitely October. October's inventory month, so that's the month. Yeah.
October.
Yeah,
What's Back
Go
to the
with
Future
it.
Day?
yeah. So Future Day. On Future Day, we
We're
did
not
the
real
back to
fans.
back to back.
The worst fans.
Got to watch all other films. So that's the first time I saw the first film. Now, the second one, I do recall seeing in the movie theater. Justin, I think I told you before, Batman '89 was my first movie theater experience.
Wow.
And
That was good.
at some point, Back to the Future 2 must have been, like in the next two or three films, I'd imagine.
Mm.
And then in '91, you get Back to the Future 3, which I also saw in theater. Um, Let's see here. I own Laserdisc, VHS, all several DVDs, 20th, 25th, 30th, 35th, Blu-ray, 4K. I had the 4K before I owned a 4K player. Um,
Same.
I I
By
got
the way, a 40th anniversary is coming out in October, just so y'all know.
Oh, a
I
new
did
version?
see an
Yes.
announcement.
Okay.
Is
Any
that
new features?
official?
So I saw somewhere like we're
Yeah.
making an
Eric Stoltz.
announcement and
Eric Stoltz.
the Stoltz cut. Um,
That would be awesome.
Give it to us.
Yes, all
Yes.
of it.
I
I'll
believe
take
it's
it.
going to be called the 40th anniversary
Cool.
edition
Okay.
or something like
So
that.
I do the home
I'll
video
pre-order
thing,
now.
behind the
Take my money.
scenes stuff. I don't think they're doing it's Universal. Though they did just remaster the same scans of the Jurassic Park movies. Those were widely hated because they looked like shit. But me revisiting Back to the Future yesterday, and I've watched the 4Ks of those a lot, they're actually gorgeous. And they did a brilliant job with those because Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale oversaw those transfers. So I don't think they're going to redo the actual like picture quality, or they might do a Dolby Atmos soundtrack to them. I think that's the only thing they might do to them to enhance them. It'd be great to get new special features, but honestly, I just don't see them doing that.
Hmm.
Unfortunately,
Maybe
based on what I've been told, I may be wrong, but
Maybe a panel or something that they did.
I was going to say, what more special features can they add at this point?
I mean, yeah, what we've gotten at this point already was really awesome. Maybe they can just like have like an hour and a half long episode of Crispin Glover talking, and then we'll be good. We'll be good, right?
Yeah, I would listen, but I would welcome any footage from like some of these like celebrations they've been having, especially
Yeah,
at
sure.
Universal lot. I would love to see some of those. I forgot about the other theater experience that I think every fan should experience is watching it with a live orchestra. So
Oh,
Alan
wow.
Silvestri did
Amazing.
not. Yeah,
Yes.
he didn't make it up here. It was a Wolfgang something rather that filled in for him on that leg of the tour, but it was still electric. And just celebrating these moments on the big screen with other fans as well.
I did do that when they were here, and I got to hang
Yeah.
out with Leah Thompson and Ellen Silvestri, and it was
Wow.
amazing, actually. What was crazy is everyone just wanted to swarm Leah about Back to the Future, and I walked over and she gave me a hug, and I said, "I love doing Jaws 3D." Because I wanted to be that. I'm like, I don't want to be the same guy as all these other guys. And it's one of my favorite pictures I've ever gotten with a celebrity, and I have many of them. But she was such a sweetheart, like the best. And Alan Silvestri was so cool. They were just there to show love to the movie, and I agree, Pete. Like seeing it with a live orchestra with that Alan Silvestri score that is so bright and upbeat and just so powerful. Like there's really nothing else like it. I mean, it's one of my favorite movie-going experiences of all time. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then Alan wrote some new original material for the sequences that had no score in the background.
Mm.
So if not for nothing, like you get some new score. I get Mikey and I got to see him in person, but didn't get a chance. I don't think either of us got a chance to get a picture with him, right, in New York.
With Alan Silvestri, no.
Yeah, we saw him after the musical. Well, I
I
don't I
mean,
don't
we
think
saw
we
him,
knew
but
it
we
was.
didn't get a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had to because I don't know him by face, unfortunately. I know him
Oh,
Dude,
by his
I
trumpets and
got him when
horns.
he was getting in his blacked out SUV. It wasn't even at that event. He was actually at the John Williams birthday event here that I got to attend in DC at the Kennedy Center. And Sylvester was just there as a guest, and he was leaving after I think it was uh, pre-show, and I instantly know who he was. And I was like, "Hey, Alan, can I get a picture?" And no one else knew who he was, and instantly was like, "Would love to." Gave me a hug. Thanks for being here
oh,
to celebrate John. So it was pretty awesome, actually. So I lucked
It's
out with that
awesome.
because no one else knew who
Yeah.
the hell he was, and I was
I
just
had
like,
no
"Yes."
idea what he looked like until the Ready Player One behind the scenes stuff on the Blu-ray.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh, okay.
yeah, that he did pretty
Justin,
good on that one too.
we'll come back to you. Albie, any stories of meeting anybody from the movie?
The only one I met is Christopher Lloyd, and that was at Star Trek Las Vegas this few months ago, last year. I
Mm.
guess about a year ago this time. He was really nice. Very overwhelmed, I'd say, by like just the long line waiting for him. So, and he only got like
Yeah.
10 seconds at his booth, to get a picture. But, it was
It
amazing.
it's not easy for him if he's also the only cast member. I got to see him a second
Mm.
time, I believe earlier this year. Yeah, I think it was just in February. I wore that really cool Bulls Air Back to the Future 2 jacket.
Mhm.
That
Bulls
that
Air rules, by the way. Props
yeah,
to them. Love Bulls Air.
so good. I got so many looks. I got a bunch of like McFly, like as I'm walking by. It felt
Yeah.
pretty cool, not gonna lie,
Yeah.
wearing that jacket. But since he was the only cast member, as you'd imagine his panel, I felt he was really overwhelmed with all
Mhm.
the questions and having to recall memories from like Taxi,
Especially at his
just like
age too, man. Especially at his
yeah,
age now.
Yeah.
yeah,
He actually looks like Doc Brown should have
Yeah.
looked in the movie. So it's like when you see
Yes.
him
Yeah.
now, you're like, oh wow, it's crazy. But he's always so nice though, for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to bubble wrap him.
Yeah.
Um,
It's amazing though.
uh,
That 5 seconds of my life, I was Marty McFly. So.
nice. Yeah,
Love
I
it.
love that. Mikey, yeah, if you want to add the musical, but any other moments when you might have met the cast I don't know about.
No, it was the only person I've met is Bob Gale at the when we as the musical. Very nice guy. Was nice and took a photo with everyone that came up to him. Um, yeah, I've never met any of the cast actually ever at a con or anything. So
We almost missed him because we got to the venue and he had just gotten done like taking a photo with like probably a couple or something and somebody that he was with was like escorting him into what I'm assuming is like a back door,
yes,
for the VIP kind of thing. And so I'm like, oh man, we just missed out on a chance to get a picture with Bob Gale. And then later on during the intermission, I would get my photo on the way to the restroom, and I guess you got it while I was gone. So
yeah. So
Were you part of
yeah,
the the pre-show of Broadway? Like, did you get early
we went to
tickets or screener tickets or what are they called? Preview tickets?
the previews. Yeah, we went the first night. It was on Broadway in New York City,
It's
we
amazing.
were
which was
there opening night, but I don't know if we saw anything before the actual show.
Mm.
no. Well, like it's called like preview. Like there's like an official Broadway opening, and
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was
okay.
like a week later, and we what like the original week is called Broadway previews, and that's what we went to. So
Yeah, I
Got
didn't
it.
see it till
Yeah.
last year, but it was amazing. My daughter wanted to go see it. I wanted to go see it, of course, but she was afraid to fly at the time. So we took an Amtrak all the way from South Florida to New
oh
York to
wow,
see it. It was great.
I would have done the same. I hate flying, so
Yeah, it was
Wow.
fun to be on a train. So
Yeah, it's been a while. It's several decades for me, but I remember enjoying it. It was like 3 days just to get to,
yeah,
where was I going? Texas, something like that.
it
But
was a long time, but it's totally worth it.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, yeah. I mean, more time with your daughter too.
Oh
Um,
yeah, she loved it.
Yeah, I think when we went, Mikey, to watch it on Broadway, it was really nice because we got to see a lot of the cast afterwards as well. So we got to kind of meet them. I don't know if they do that every show. I feel the more you do, the more exhausted you get, and maybe the less likely you come out after second or third night of a weekend or something. Um,
I believe that's the case. I just like that we went like the very first night because it was definitely all diehard Back to the Future fans that showed up all dressed up and ready to go, cosplaying and everything. It was a really cool experience.
What
Oh
row
yeah,
did you
and
guys
shout out.
get? What row?
Uh,
It was a
let's
good
say
row. I
12th.
mean,
I don't know.
It was
yeah,
a good
it was a
row.
It was a good row.
yeah.
Third
Good
row, I
row.
think, is the best. I had
I mean,
my podcasting partner Chris kind of scope it out before me, and he said third row center, and that's right where you can like be like face to face with Marty and Doc at the end.
so I
I
still have the
know.
ticket
Yeah.
in
Oh,
my
nice.
Apple Wallet, and we are in Orchestra Row P, seats 16 and 14.
Nice. It's
I
a
will not
small
delete
We were
theater.
it.
There's
separated.
no bad seats, I don't think.
I wish there were still paper tickets, but they don't exist. But anyways, yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Let's see. So Bob Gale, Alan Silvestri that night. I feel maybe I haven't really shared this story on Podstalgic, because we haven't done many episodes in a while. But I had originally purchased tickets to go see them in Seattle at Emerald City Comic Con back March of 2020. In
I
January,
remember
I
this. I
told
remember this. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So I told the wife January of 2020. I was like, "Hey, yeah, the cast of Back to the Future, they're going to be in Seattle, but it's going to be kind of pricey." I gave her the dollar amount, just to see how she'd react, and she was like, "Are you going to go?" I go, it's expensive. Like we'd have to sell one of the kids, and she was like, it's like your favorite movie of all time. I go,
Yeah.
that sounds like a green light,
That's the greatest thing that
Yeah.
a wife can ever
Yeah,
say. And when my wife
Yep.
has said
yeah.
that, my friend, I'm instantly like, I'm fucking doing this thing.
Yeah.
And then I did it. I did. I bought the tickets. Come March 2020, the world shuts down
Hmm.
and they have to
Yep.
cancel. So I'm like, well, that sucks. Obviously, like everything's canceling. Broadway in general, like stage people who that's their job, their livelihood. So the world was affected, obviously. Fast forward to I believe it was 2022. It was announced that the cast of Back to the Future would now be coming to Portland. So now I
Wow.
don't even have to make the travel up to Seattle. It's like they are coming to my hometown, bought the tickets, and then the following month they cancel because now the Omicron
Oh.
strain is hitting,
Hmm.
and that was a motherfucker. And so I'm like, two cancellations, and I really got into my feels. Like, oh, I am never gonna
It
see
wasn't
them.
meant to be. I'm never
It
going to
wasn't,
meet them.
Either that or next time
and
they'd be closer and they'd be coming to your house.
right,
Then you'd
right,
have to go
my
because like
doorstep.
you
On
have
your
to
couch,
host.
dude, just
Yeah.
chilling there. Like, we going to watch the movie together? Got
Yeah.
some popcorn?
Jeffrey Weissman's like upside down on the thing for some reason. He's like, hey.
Oh, is it the golf course?
So yeah, it been announced again the following year, 2023. They're coming to Portland, and yeah, I think it was the first of many to come because I met people from all over the world, that was thinking this might be their only chance. Hmm. So I go see them, and Friday night was the night we're supposed to do the panel, and we were going to do the signing and all that good stuff. And Leah Thompson was unable to come in Friday night, the night of the panel. And she was still in Vancouver wrapping up filming something because now she directs, maybe at the time,
Was it
Star
Goldberg's?
Stargirl.
Okay. I know she did the
She directed
Goldbergs
some
too.
Star Trek too.
Okay.
Okay, so she's definitely actively directing. Just because she said Vancouver, I know Marvel does like Atlanta and also Vancouver, but I'm sure plenty in Vancouver as well. But they announced that she would not be making it Friday, but had vouchers for people that were supposed to get autographs and whatnot to come back the following day. And as you'd imagine, people that were like flying from all around the world was hoping to see her on a Friday night, then leave on a Saturday.
Mhm.
They were really upset, and so that was like a whole ass thing.
Mm-mm.
But what was also really cool is the Rose City Comic Con, they had put out to the fans, hey, like, if you're a fan and want to submit something, tell us why, or share like one of your favorite moments from Back to the Future, and it might be played, at the con or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And just in kind of what you were saying about how you wanted to ask her or, make a comment that she may not hear very often. And so I go, you know what? People probably talk about Back to the Future 1, maybe even 2 all the time. I go, I don't think 3 gets enough love. And so I thought I would send in a clip talking about one of my favorite moments. It's like where Marty walks into the saloon and and then you get the whole introduction to Mad Dog Tannen, and he says, what's your name? He says Eastwood. What kind of name is that? You know, so all of that. I remembered the dialogue for the video, obviously, like I'm butchering it right now, but during the panel, I noticed that the first fan that they played talked about a moment from part one, and then we go back to the guys, Michael J. Fox, Tom Wilson, and Christopher Lloyd on stage. And then we take another break and we go back to the screens again. And now it's another fan talking about part two. I'm picking up on the pattern here. I go, oh my God, like there's a very real chance that we're gonna see me talking about part three next. Sure enough, it was me. They
Oh
put it on the
wow.
screen, and I
Amazing.
have a footage of a reaction of the three of them watching me on screen.
Oh
And
wow.
later on, Tom Wilson, he's like, hey, you're in that video. And I was like, yeah. So when they showed me on the big screen, people surrounding me, they had recognized like seeing me just recently. So everybody's like looking around, like I just saw the guy. I just and so everyone saw me, and I'm just like filming, everyone reacting. So that was really really cool. The next day, Leah would show up. I got my autographs and selfies with the guys on Friday. So Leah has her own panel, probably as a sorry you guys missed me the previous night. So here's a panel with me today. So you get to sit wherever you want. I sat up as close as I could, filmed a few of her responses to some questions, and then later on, same thing. When I was next up in line, I wanted to ask her something that maybe she doesn't get too often. And so I go up and I'm doing the selfie combo, and she's, signing, and I tell her if you can work in like that absolute dream line, somewhere in there. And while she was writing,
Dude.
I just asked her, I go, do you still remember the lyrics to Hunger City? And for those that are kind of blanking, that was a song that the Cherry Bombs, I believe is what they were called, maybe. Now I'm messing up on their name, but it's her band from Howard the Duck.
Oh, I love Howard the Duck.
So yeah, whatever they were called. I remember she was Beverly. I don't remember the name of the band, but I remember the song Hunger City being my favorite. And so I asked her if she remembered the lyrics. She kind of closes her eyes and you could see her kind of running the lyrics through her head. And she's like, yeah, yeah, I do. And so she finishes up my autograph and she walks around the table to compose with me. And as she hits that corner, she gets into like a Beverly rock star, like, stance, and she is belting out the lyrics. And I'm like, oh my God, is anybody filming this? And I'm looking around and everybody in her line is like, ear to ear smiles. And we're just like, oh my God, Leah Thompson's like singing right now in front of us. It was pretty amazing. And as we posed for the photo, her immediate reaction was to put her head on my shoulder. So I get that. And then like she kind of, I don't know if you want to say corrected herself, but then she stood erect, just straight, for the next like a couple more snaps. So at least for like a second there, I had Leah Thompson's head on my shoulder, and I have just the biggest goofiest grin on my
Is it
mouth.
as
So
magical as I imagine?
it was an absolute dream, you know. She was she was a sweetheart.
Wow.
It was yeah, I just be gushing, but those were my experiences with them. Michael J. Fox, it was very conveyor belt, with his condition, and it was also later in the evening. He had already been doing autographs and photos all day, so yeah, it was tough. I remember Christopher Lloyd. He's eating like Reese's Pieces, peanut butter cups, just a little bit of protein. And when he was signing my photo, he looks up at me, and I'm sure he does this with everybody, but it still felt special. He looked up like at me and just said, "Hey, thank you for being here." I'm like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for my memories." So
Wow.
so that was incredible for him just to say something. And then yes, with Tom Wilson just recognizing me from the video. What kind of stupid name is that? Or right? Is that what he says?
Did he knock
Yeah.
your
So
Yeah.
skull and be like,
yeah.
"Hello,
No,
hello, anybody
it would
home?"
have been nice. It would have been nice for something like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
just meeting them, it was an incredible experience, and just reliving it right now, telling you guys, I'm almost back on cloud nine again. it was incredible. It was definitely one of like the best days of my life.
Wow.
I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin,
That's
back
a
to
bucket
you
list
to
thing. Meeting
you
Leah.
and a couple pals also got to see the entire
Yeah,
cast.
and well, what's crazy is I'll never forget talking with you about it because it was before you met them. And I knew you were like the hardcore biggest fan that I was friends with. Before I even did that, though, right down the street from me, where I moved to in Virginia at the time in Reston, they did this special film festival, and Claudia Wells showed up with Christopher Lloyd, and they pulled him in a DeLorean. So that's the first
Oh
time I
wow.
met those two, and they were super nice. This is before I was a member of the press or anything, so I was just like a regular fan on, the side skirts, just waiting there all day. And also, that's the first time I met Bob Gale.
Nice.
Got a picture with him in front of a DeLorean. He signed my Ultimate Guide to Back to the Future book. Super nice guy. But it was years later where my friend's like, "Hey man, do you want to like just do an all-nighter to Boston to meet the Back to the Future cast?" And of course I said yes. It was Michael J. Fox, Leah Thompson, Thomas F. Wilson, of course Christopher Lloyd. And I just posted that picture again yesterday. I look so young. It's crazy to think like what 6 or 7, 8 years can do. When you look at it, you're like, oh my God, I used to look so fucking good. But I posted that yesterday for the anniversary because I don't post it very often, but it was an amazing event. But much like what your experience was, Pete, Michael wasn't, it wasn't exactly what I had hoped for. I'm not going to lie. Um, he did look at us, he did greet us, but it was totally different because earlier in the day we met Jeff Goldblum and he was like, "Boys, come over. Nice to meet you. I'll give you all a hug. Let's be lovers." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is what we're gonna get all day." And it wasn't like that.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of the assembly line thing at conventions. I'm just not like the whole walk in now, smile, leave. Like I
Yeah.
want the engagement. And honestly, the lines at that event in Boston Comic Con were so huge that we just were so tired. We drove all the way through the night, no sleep to meet everybody. But I'm still extremely thankful that we had the opportunity. And I was still on such a high afterwards. And it's an amazing opportunity, especially with the amount of the cast that was there for that. It'd be amazing if someday Crispin decided to just, stop talking about, in air quotes, propaganda, and just fucking do one of these things. He does other events. I have plenty of friends that have pictures with him, that have autographs from him at other events. I'm like, dude, just go do one. Come on. Everyone just wants to meet you, like you're George
I agree.
McFly, man.
Yeah.
So that's my point of view on it now as a early 40-year-old man. I'm like, dude, we just want to meet you. But that was it. It was amazing. I think I've had everything I can when it comes to Back to the Future. That would be the only thing. If I could meet Crispin, that would be the
Hmm.
only thing.
I would love to meet him too. And from what I understood, he, didn't really even hold back on the set of Hot Tub Time Machine. That I think that came up at some point, and he talked about his experience on Back to the Future. Um, yeah, and that was an interview I did with the writer Josh Hield, who's one of the creators of Cobra Kai. So he shared that tidbit, having previously worked with Crispin Glover, because for those that haven't seen that movie in a while, one of my favorite running gags is the whole idea of Crispin Glover's character not having like one arm. And so
Yeah.
when they go back to the past, they're trying to figure out when in time did he actually lose it. So there's these like morbid jokes throughout. Like, is
Mhm.
this it? Is this it? John
Mhm.
Cusack's always kind of waiting. So yeah, definitely worth a revisit if you guys haven't seen that in a while. Let's see, Mikey, back to you. Please I'll let you spearhead our experience and I'll add little tidbits if need be, but your experience visiting the filming locations and writing in the DeLorean. And when you're speaking of the DeLorean, if you can please tee up the story of how that even came to be.
Yeah, definitely. So we were going to LA for Paley Fest for a Cobra Kai event, and I thought, hey, wouldn't I look cool if I picked up Peter at the airport in a DeLorean? And that would have been cool, but it didn't exactly work out like that. But I did find there's it's like a luxury
Turo.
car rental app that I don't remember the name of right now.
Turo.
Turo, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someone had a DeLorean in LA.
No way.
So
For real, you could
yeah,
rent a DeLorean off of a fucking app? Oh my God.
yeah.
It,
So it
That's
it's
was
amazing.
Do it.
Airbnb
Do
for
it now.
cars.
It's a private because most of the time when you rent a DeLorean, you can only stand there and take a picture of it. You're not allowed to drive it. Or
Right.
you might be able to drive it a few feet. But there was a private owner who owned a DeLorean in LA. So we it
So
was insanely expensive.
Mikey
Yeah.
texted me and he said, "Have you ever driven a DeLorean?" And I was literally like in mid text. So like, well, I've sat in several at the cons, and it occurred to me, why is he asking me? And so I go, are you thinking about renting a DeLorean? And he replied to the gist of like, yeah, I'm considering it, midlife crisis, just kind of joking. And I was like, let's do it. I'll go half because I wanted to drive off in a DeLorean
Can I ask? Can I be
for
that
my
guy?
wedding.
How much was it?
Hmm?
I don't even
Well,
remember.
there was
We went way over
there-
our
there-
mileage is the problem.
we
Okay.
did
Okay.
because it's like X amount of dollars for this amount of mileage default. And then
Right.
if we go
Right.
over, there's a formula. I believe we split 900 something.
I think it was more than that.
Don't get him in trouble
Okay.
with the wife.
I'm happily divorced.
Years later.
Oh, good.
You're
Me
in
too.
trouble for that.
I'm not getting in trouble with anybody.
There were no questions. I think it's, we were going down.
Worth it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it might have been $1,400 if I remember correctly. To be honest with you,
Worth it.
Okay. Could be right. Maybe
so that was
900
the day.
was the thing, and then we exceeded to 14.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. For
So
12 hours.
Yeah, for 12 hours. Or no, we had it that we kept it overnights for some reason. Didn't
You
we?
dropped me off at the airport in the
Yes,
DeLorean.
we had to go to the airport.
Did you guys at
on-
least
wow.
do like a sexy swimsuit photo shoot in front of it or something? Like,
Well, there's tons of
Close.
pictures. You know what's weird? We never took a picture together in front of the damn thing. I realized
Oh.
recently.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had a fancy, I didn't have a tripod, and then I only had the fancy camera because I wanted the best quality for
You're
our
telling me you
pictures.
couldn't find someone randomly into McDonald's and just pull in and be like, "Get me a picture and get me and my friend here."
Yeah.
Come
Why did we
on.
take a picture
We-
together? That was dumb.
Our
But we each have pictures.
our first location was at Golf and Stuff. We could have asked somebody. We purposely parked like in the third row where no cars were, and when we came out, that's where
Sure.
like all the cars were parked near us.
Yes, I remember. So yeah, we picked it up from this guy. We're driving. We were visiting Karate Kid locations and Back to the Future locations, kind of all together, trying to map it out. It that was a painstaking thing to try to map everything out
was
the
hard.
best we could, and we figured it out. And we spent like an entire Saturday, like 12 hours, even longer than that, because we started early in the morning. We picked up the car like around 11, and we ended up at the mall, and it was like midnight,
like
or
12:30,
1 a.m.
1 o'clock. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we so we had
Rested
to,
soul.
we
God
were
rested
so we
soul.
drove for about 12 hours, but yeah, we had it overnight. That sounds right.
And we
I have a
we
question.
visited- Yes.
Did you go 88 miles per hour?
You cannot go 88 in this thing. It is not.
I'll tell when it gets to me, I'll talk about that too. Oh shit.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes
Hey,
sense.
let me add real quick. Mikey was definitely driving it as of like, this is a DeLorean. I need to be careful. To me, I'm like, I'm renting somebody else's DeLorean. I'm gonna drive it as such. So he was going 40, if I remember correctly, on the freeway, and I think I was going probably like 65, whatever. I felt comfortable
So
without
in my
shaking.
defense, we were in LA traffic for most of this time, so
That's
it's
true.
not like you could go
Mikey,
very fast.
how tall are you? I have to ask.
I am 5'11".
Pete, you're shorter than me, right? I'm 6'1".
Yes, 5'7".
ish. Okay. That makes
was
a
stuck
huge
for you
difference
guys.
because my fucking the top of my head in that car is like touching the actual door.
It's not. Yeah, it's not roomy. It's not power. It doesn't steer well.
No.
I think I would have drove it like the valet in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a very. My friends make fun of my driving all the time, anyway. So I'm not like a very. I'm not a speed demon person. But we visited the school. It was fenced up, so we couldn't really get too close to that. We visited
McFly House,
Ranger
and
James
there was
house.
like a block party or something like across the street.
Yeah,
at
I
least.
think,
Really?
like, yeah, we couldn't really stop. There wasn't anywhere to park, so we just kind of like jumped out. I know you. Did I take a picture of you? Because I know you took a picture of me in front of.
I already have one in front of the
Okay,
house, so
that's
I
fine.
said, jump out. I don't care. We're in the middle of the street. Let's take a quick photo and hop back in because there was literally nowhere to park.
But the street where the McFly house and the Baines house and the Tannen house it's all the same street. And then we ran into this man who gave us like a
Ah,
filming history lesson of all the movie. I don't even remember everything that he was saying. There was
Is he just like
old
walking down the
school.
street randomly and he was just like, hey,
Just
you know
Well,
about this?
So
I think
the thing is, when
I
you
think
have
the
a DeLorean,
DeLorean.
people just come
Yeah,
up and talk to you. Like
Yeah,
that's
Sure.
yeah. People beep at you. They just like, hey. Um, Probably my favorite story with the DeLorean is we went to the South Seas apartments to take a picture there for a Karate Kid
Ooh,
location, and that was
okay.
all gated up. And then was that you, Peter, who talked to this? Yeah, it was you. And you said there was a kid walking by, and he said, "Hey, how about we let you take a picture of this DeLorean if you let us into the apartments?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, wait a second, let me get my dad." But yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, yeah. So we kind of
yeah.
gambled,
So,
bartered
so
our way into.
basically,
You
you have to
swindled
have a
those damn
code.
kids.
Well, he was a teenager, so he was probably like 15 or something. He was actually like working under the hood of the car in the car area, and
Okay.
because I went to go scope it first, and I noticed that you have to have a code to kind of get in through the gate now, and there was nowhere for us to park. There was no visitor, and like we did earlier, I parked by a fire hydrant, and I told Mikey, I go, who is going to tow a
I'm
DeLorean?
all nervous. I'm like, "Please
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to tow a DeLorean.
Dude,
So
if cops show up or anyone shows up, they're just gonna want to take pictures with it
Yeah,
and look at
exactly.
it.
100%. And so I circled around the whole apartment trying to find a way in, and I couldn't find one. So I see this kid, and I look at the DeLorean, and then I look at the kid again. I go, "Hey, so we rented this DeLorean, and we just want to get some photos on the inside. Would you mind letting us in? And you can take like a photo with the car, just like." You know what? Worst case, he says no. He goes, you know what? My dad likes that movie. Yeah, let me go get him. We can come take a photograph, and they let us in.
So you
So
did a dad hangout real quick, like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
a dad, you're a
So
dad, let me on in.
so they watched the car for us while we walked inside, took turns, standing in front,
Amazing.
certain place taking in pictures. But Mikey, I think my favorite interaction, if you want to call it that, same thing. We went to the Terry Silver Mansion from the Karate Kid
yeah,
Part 3.
I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah,
Narrow ass road, nowhere to park. And again, this is the first time I had the idea, let's just park by this fire hydrant. No one's gonna tow a DeLorean. So I walk across the street to get a good, angle of him in front of this mansion in the background, and he's like standing ready for this picture. And then we hear like the gate kind of rustling, and we're like, "Oh, someone's coming out, I think." And so this gentleman comes out, with two of his dogs on a leash, turns around, locks the gate or whatever, and we're looking at each other like, should we ask him? Like he's already out here, and I don't know. We were already about to take the picture regardless, and so he walks across the street, and we're like, okay, well, let's just take this photo. And then he stops, pulls out a phone, and takes a few pictures of the DeLorean, and then just keeps
yeah,
on going. And we're like, okay, then,
yeah. That works.
That's so
yeah.
Sounds like
cool.
you
So
trade to me.
yeah, so I mean, having the DeLorean definitely helped get us like a few pictures we wanted in terms of locations for the Karate Kid and Back to the Future. We did hit the school, the McFly house, but it's actually the Baines and Grandma Tannen. I think those are the only two that's on that street
Yeah,
because
they're
Oh,
pretty
the
close,
McFly
right?
house we had to drive a bit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
those two houses were maybe two houses apart. The
Mhm.
gentleman that came
oh,
to talk to us shared with us the tidbit of them filming on that strip for Old School, I believe was the
Mhm.
story.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. I
Yeah, it's the
couldn't.
same
And
house
then
as Grandma Tannen, I think. Yeah.
yeah, and we
Oh, okay.
parked in front of the tree that George McFly climbs on because we both posed and looked upwards as if George was in the trees. And
Yes,
let's see, was that pretty much it for Back to the Future?
I think so
The
because the Doc
mall,
Brown
we ended
house
it.
is very far away. I'm sorry. What'd you just say?
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just saying the mall. We did end at the
Oh,
mall.
the movie. Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like my mind's always kind of like, oh, let's just do this and I'll figure out what to do with it later. So I think there is footage of me, maybe one of us from the inside, just filming through the windshield, driving around the parking lot. And then I think there is footage of one of us outside watching the DeLorean drive around the parking
You
lot.
think, where
So
the
we
hell
have
is this footage? Where the hell is it? What are you
I
doing with
haven't
it?
seen it.
we
I-
were
yeah.
trying to do like how the car's coming towards Marty and then goes to the future and then or Doc and Marty, and then we were trying to do something like that.
In the
I
mall
think the
parking lot.
Yeah.
idea of like us rolling down the hill
Well,
too.
it's an
like,
amazing
Right.
thing that you guys are doing that because that mall's done. It's going
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
It's going to be gone. So
It
it's
is-
so
yeah,
amazing.
it's-
I'll never forget it when I went there, Pete, not to cut you off or anything at all, but
Yep.
when I went there in 2017 with my family, you were giving me shit like you're not going to do the Back to the Future locations. I'm like, I'm lucky I'm getting the locations in that I'm getting in, and I so
Yeah.
regret not going to the mall and a few of the other locations when I was there because that mall is absolutely being demolished in the next year or so. If it hasn't
We need
already
to start
yet.
handing out flyers, save the mall parking lot.
Save the parking lot. I
Yep.
do hope that they kind of only remodel the mall and kind of leave like the parking lot, because you still might be able to run down like Marty up to like the 120 121 timestamp, before he like
Well, a
rolls
lot of
down
malls are
the rest
doing
of the
this
hill.
cool thing where they're just revitalizing the area. They're doing housing and they're putting in new restaurants. And I'm super into the dead mall stuff, so like
Yeah.
I follow that stuff really closely. But last I looked, this mall was kind of like the Bill and Ted Mall, where it's like kind of a done deal. Like the owners don't want to put any more money into it, which is a huge shame. But huge props. I'll never be more jealous than that because watching the movie yesterday, because I'm a huge mall guy, like massive mall guy. I travel around the country all the time and just check out old malls whenever they're still there before they get demolished. And that was one that I really wanted to go to see because it's one of the most iconic malls in film history. I guarantee
Yeah.
you, none of you are going to ever disagree with that, right?
Not at all.
No, you know what's wild is when I was sitting in the TGIF, like looking throughout the window to see the parking lot of the mall. Our server was young, early
Oh
20
no,
maybe.
she didn't
Yeah,
know, did she?
yeah. I was just like, I was like, do you know what filmed out there like 35 years ago, or whenever the time was. And she's like, no,
Dude, I'm always that guy,
movie.
and they instantly look at me like I'm a creeper or something. Like, who the fuck is this weird guy? Get him out of here. I'm like, I order a Miller Lite or something. Like, he's wasted. He's on drugs. And I'm like, no, seriously, that movie, if your parents haven't told you or not, like it was shot. Anyways, sorry. Didn't mean to
No,
cut
wait.
in your story,
Ju-
but I'm
just
very
in-
jealous of that.
Yeah. In the event you need to jump off sooner, the mic is yours. You can go in whatever direction in talking about the film.
Well, I just wanted to mention, I'll go until I'm told otherwise. I've got another
Okay.
15, 20 minutes or so before I get yelled at. But the one thing that I
Well,
did
he
want to
is
mention
married.
is I just want to make sure I get to my wife to hang out with her before she gets too drunk. That's the key thing because we have movies to watch and things to do. But
We're celebrating the 40th. That's what it is. The 40th of
Happy Back to the Future.
She's celebrating.
yeah,
I can tell you.
But also the 50th of Jaws though. So I have to.
There you go.
I'm wearing. I'm already there for that. And
Nice.
we're doing that too. But
Jaws 19.
the shark still looks fake.
We'll get
Still
there.
looks fake. Driving a DeLorean, I have to talk about it because my buddy that I was talking about texting earlier, who I haven't talked to in a very long time, he and I bonded. We were in a band together called Entrail. It was a super heavy metal band, and we bonded over our love of Back to the Future. And his dad was very rich, in the dumbest way possible, but he didn't like to spend money on things that made any difference to anything. He'd buy like an 85 Ferrari or something and let it sit in a garage, whatever. So one day, I'm at work, and this is before texting was a thing, really. I got a phone call on my work phone. I worked for a newspaper, and it was my roommate / guitar player. And he goes, dude, you have to get out of work early. I go, why? He goes, my dad said he bought a car that he thinks I'm going to love, and we have to go pick it up. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. I was like, you're fucking kidding me. He's like, yeah, just take your break. It's down the street. The shop was down the street from where I worked, like literally a mile. So he comes and picks me up on my break. We go to the shop door. They open it slowly, and they pull it out. It's literally a DeLorean. And I was like, no fucking way. So I've got pictures of us. He pulls it out. He told my friend Jesus, his name is Brian, but everyone called him Jesus because he looked like, Jesus Christ. So everyone called him that. He's like, my dad brought me here to pick up the car and left me here with it. I thought that's what it was. And he's like, I could have it for a day and a half. I can't have it. It's not for me. But he bought it just for, basically like to say I can buy this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought it to my work, and all my coworkers came out, and we were doing like the poses with the watch, like looking at our watches and all that stuff with the door open and everything. And my boss literally came out and he's like, dude, just leave. Go early. This is your thing. Go right now. Go drive the thing. Go. You're cool. Fine. We tried to take it on the highway. And he tried to take it to 88, and it did this weird shaky thing where it almost hit like a curb. And then I was like, no, I'm going to go faster than that. I'm going to go 90. It would not go to 88, dude. It would not go to 88. I was so upset. It did not get that far. I got to like 74, and it did this really weird thing where I felt like the car was going to go off the road and like do a tailspin or something. I was like, nope, not doing that. So I never got to go back to the future in a DeLorean, but
So
I drove one, and my head was touching the ceiling the entire time. But it was a pristine DeLorean. It looked like the guy had never touched it, like he had drove it maybe once a year since he owned it. So probably a cheap price, some old dude back in the 80s, But so fucking cool to drive one ever. And what's so funny is we talked about earlier, like the screenings and stuff we do at Alamo, a lot of guys that bring their DeLoreans, the souped up DeLoreans and their time machines, they'll bring them into the parking lot and like, oh man, it won't start. They're sitting there all night. I'm like, oh, gotta get a tow truck in there. Happens all the time because the cars, anyone knows the cars, knows they were built to shit. They were built terribly. They just look so cool. We all just love them because of the movie. I mean, it's just like
That's it.
a thing of the past. That's literally what it is. Nostalgia, and it's a thing of the past. Us 80s and nostalgia lovers, but they're just shitty cars. They're terrible cars. Like it felt like I was driving a Fiero, like a Pontiac Fiero. It's like the same thing, which I
Yeah.
learned to drive in one of those. And when I got into that, I was like, this thing's not going to go 88 for real. Like Marty could never get this thing up to speed in that parking lot. Look how short that time. There's nothing. It's never going to happen. So that I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because it was an amazing moment. And I think I was so depressed for a whole week and a half after that. Like it could never go that fast. What if I believed all these years?
I'd have to look through my photos. I don't remember what Mikey, maybe you do. I don't remember what this speedometer, what the max was.
I think 80.
It's
Max
over
was
100. It's over 100.
Is it?
It's
Oh.
over
I thought
100.
the max
yes.
was
It's
80. I didn't
over
think it was
100.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
heard it was over 80 on some special feature.
Yeah, it's
something
over
somewhere.
100 for sure.
Okay, cool.
I
Maybe
feel ours probably wouldn't have made. I don't think ours went past 80. I feel, but maybe that's why they wanted Michael J. Fox because he is shorter in stature and he could fit a lot better in there. It's
What
a
is
cool
Stoltz,
fucking
though? What is
car.
Stoltz? He's not too tall either,
But-
though.
he seems about
Yeah,
the
I
same.
mean, are they really? I've never thought Stoltz was
Yeah.
I've never
mean,
thought of him as
Interesting
so
thing
short.
to think about, though, because Christopher Lloyd is like, he's 6'1"
right.
or 6.
He's super
He's super up there. So when he gets
Tom
in the
Wilson.
car,
Maybe
he always has to watch his head when he's getting out of the car every single time when he
Mhm.
opens the door.
this might be an
Sure.
interesting discussion. Maybe you guys can corroborate the story. But what I remember reading or hearing or whatever it was, because I consume everything Back to the Future, they Tom Wilson was cast because of Eric Stoltz, and that's the height difference there. And then once they were
Sure,
able to
sure.
get Michael J.
Yes.
Fox, his Biff was supposed to be J.J. Cohen. Who would end up being Skinhead, if I'm not mistaken on the name there.
I've never heard that, dude. I've actually never heard that before.
Yeah. And so then they were able to get Michael
I
J.
believe
Fox, and that's why it's such a height difference. And then Zemeckis, I think it was him that came up with the idea because Doc and Marty are so there's such a big height difference. I think in the scene where they're talking about needing 1.21 gigawatts and the whole talk about the clock tower, I believe that's when he's decided to kind of play with like the depth perception and had
Mhm.
Doc run up
But
towards the
didn't
camera.
Wilson talk about didn't Wilson he shot stuff with Stoltz though. He talked about shooting stuff with Stoltz though, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
I have never heard that
Yeah.
yet.
Mhm.
I think he did. He has.
Saw it somewhere.
So, Albie, you
Don't
remember,
where.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There may have
yeah.
some have been overlaps, but
Well, that's who
you know,
said it was definitely Stoltz's hand that hit him in the face, right?
Yeah, right.
okay.
That's what I'm
That's still
saying.
in
That
the
one.
movie.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So
it's
is
interesting to think. Yeah,
Michael was
'cause-
never in that scene.
'cause I think
Yeah, is
Stoltz
it-
is. I think he's slightly taller. He's not. I mean, a super tall guy, but he's slightly taller than Michael J. Fox. Absolutely.
so I think maybe it was like when they originally conceptualized the story with Michael J. Fox, got J.J. Cohen, they couldn't get Michael, so then they casted Tom Wilson because they got Eric Stoltz. And then after Eric Stoltz was fired,
Gotcha.
maybe that's the
Okay.
yeah, and then yeah, Tom Wilson was just there for the entire thing.
I believe that's the way. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Let's see
Thank God
here.
though, because Thomas Wilson.
Yeah,
Jeez, man.
but
Ultimate 80s
but
gold.
even 5'7", my like just thinking about it right now, my shoulders up here, where my shoulders meets like my lower neck. Just thinking about it is tensing up because like I don't know if it's just me trying to raise my shoulders, just trying to get comfortable. It was really a pain to drive in that DeLorean, but I think the reactions that we were getting from everybody was worth it. Mikey, do you remember any of the reactions? Like I remember you filling up gas and we were literally at like a corner where there
You
was
guys were rock
some red
stars,
light.
right?
Yeah.
Rock
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
stars. Yeah, we
And
did
people
that
were
thing
just turning
too.
peeping at us
take
and
pictures.
staring, and
We pulled
I think
downtown at our local bar spot that we used to go to, and we literally pulled up just to do the door thing, and we're like, these doors don't make the sound. They don't make the sound. So we made the sound as we got out.
Were you guys holding
That,
fire
and
extinguishers
then we
and
got
stuff
out
too?
and just stood around on the sidewalk.
I was definitely acting nonchalant in the passenger or driver's seat while Mikey was filling it up under the hood,
yeah, I was gonna say
right?
the gas tank's in a weird place.
Yeah, it's
So,
a
yeah,
Yeah.
super weird spot, right?
One of my favorite reactions was literally on the freeway as somebody's driving by us, hanging out the side of the truck, giving me a thumbs up, like to the
yes,
windshield, like, yeah. I was
forgot
like,
about
yeah,
that. Yeah,
hell yeah.
Honestly, Pete, I'm surprised you don't own one at this point, dude.
Yeah.
Surprised you don't own one, dude. I
I
mean,
would
you can
love
get
one.
one. Marketplace. I saw one the other day for $4,000.
That's
How
not
much?
bad.
4,000.
Send the link.
Yeah, seriously.
It's here. If you want to come
It'll
to
be gone
Northern
soon.
Virginia, come get it. Come get it.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
All right.
I'll keep taking a look. I mean, I'm not going to rule that out, before I die.
We'll
Possibly
split it,
I
Peter.
think it's funny because I remember telling you like you're gonna own one next time we talk. I remember saying
It would
that
be
to you like
I
off
would
the
love it.
air and like so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
should have one now. I mean, like at this point,
Yeah, buy it
I
cheap,
know.
get it hover converted. Be great.
Yeah. Let's see here. Starting with Mikey, what are some of your what what are some merch that you are proud of?
merch that I'm proud of.
I mentioned the
Like,
jacket that I got, the Bulls Air jacket.
yeah,
It's
I don't have
so
anything like
cool.
that. Like, I just have like a few random. Like, I have an out of time license plate. I have somewhere around here. I have the USA Today. I'm
I got one. Two. I own two.
yeah.
It's packed somewhere. I don't know where, but I'm a t-shirt person, so I have like a bunch of random t-shirts. I have I don't know what this one is. Where you can't even see it
Nice.
well. Yeah, where we're going.
We
You
don't need roads.
roads.
Yes, that's what I'm wearing
We were,
today.
we were almost on time with that. We were almost on time with that.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's all I have. I have the what is the brand, the Nika figures. I have a few of those.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
and then yeah, just the Blu-ray a few times, the 4K Blu-ray. I don't have a VHS copy, but yeah, that's probably about it. Nothing super like that. But I do like your jacket, by the way.
But in
Yeah.
5
Thank you.
years, you'll have a DeLorean. And you're
That's-
There
good.
you're right.
Yeah.
Albie,
Definitely.
your background is like all of your merch.
It was just what I could grab on the way here while I was running behind.
But come on now, look how impressive that is. It looks
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, definitely.
I love the Lego set. We just got it not
Yes.
too long ago. Me and my daughter are going to put it together. She actually asked for that, so I was like, "Hell yeah!" It was a little bit. The newest thing I got was just this. I think.
Oh, I saw that at Target the other day.
Yeah.
Actually.
Did you see the new, like, they have dioramas of like the town square with cars in it and stuff? So I'll
Yeah.
probably pick those up. But I just pretty much buy everything. I probably one of the coolest things I have besides having everything else is was it the DVD set that had the fake ad for Statler Toyota, and they had a phone number on it, and if you called the phone number, and gave them your address, they actually sent you a license plate frame that says Statler Toyota, selling cars of the future since 1985.
That sounds
And I just,
familiar.
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I have that on every car since.
I did not know that was a thing. That's awesome.
Because I always call
Right.
every number that's ever on a thing. So
The for me, I do have a lot of the action figures from Nika. I don't know which ones I'm missing, but I do have several of those. I have all I would say probably 90% of the comics, where the first one actually gives us the backstory of how Doc and Marty became friends. The character of Flea is also introduced in this first
Mhm.
edition. So I have most of those. I have
Neat.
a lot of we mentioned laser disc and things of that nature. I'm trying to think what else that's pretty cool. I have a lot of like the kind of like the I forget how it's worded, but like the visual history books that
Yeah,
has
yeah,
like,
yeah. I have one of
yeah,
those
a lot
too.
of
Oh
these
yeah.
Yeah, they're really
props and
cool.
labels.
Very cool.
That
Yeah.
is really awesome because you have
trading
stuff.
cards, I have
Yeah, like
those.
like
Oh wow.
Georgia Lorraine's prom photo, for example.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Maybe Lorraine's senior photo, which is now something that Leah has at her table that you can have signed. Um,
Oh.
the McFly kids pictures are in there, so that's a must own for fans. Yeah, I'm just looking around, but I have a lot of cool things. If I could think of anything else, I'll bring it up. What about you there, Justin?
So none of you have an original one sheet from 85.
No,
I
explain what
do.
a one sheet is. Is this
So a one
That's
sheet is
27 by 40, right?
27 by 40, or depending on what year it was, because they changed it from 27 by 41 throughout the years from the 80s to the 90s. I have an original one sheet. It's not on display.
Wow.
It's in a package. I don't want to touch it because it was worn because it was folded. A lot of people back then, when they would put theatrical one sheets into like storage and stuff, they would just fold them because they didn't think anything of it.
Mhm.
I've got many one sheets that are rolled, but I have one of those. I've never displayed it and I want to, but I'm just so worried about like putting it into a frame and have it disintegrate because
Yeah.
I've got a lot of old posters and I've had old posters that I'll put in a frame and like 3 years later it starts to do this weird crispy thing where you can see like pieces of it falling off. So that's my claim to fame actually is just owning an original one sheet of the theatrical poster, not the teaser. So when you say one
Wow.
sheet, there's a one sheet teaser and there's a one sheet
Hmm.
theatrical. Now it's kind of hard to differentiate between the two things because a lot of movies have like more than one theatrical poster. But back then it was like the theatrical one sheet, and then the theatrical main one sheet. And I have the one. I mean, we all know which one it is. It's Marty standing in front of the car. It's the one, but it's got lots of
Wow.
folds in it, and there's creases in it, and but I spent a lot of money to get one.
Yeah.
I had one. He just said like, "Give me $500 for it," and I was like, "I'll give you 400," and he said, "Sure." But just to own one, that was probably up in a
Yeah.
theater somewhere like that. Like that's what I live for, just to have that history in my house. That
So that's one of the original prints of the poster when it first
It's
came
the
out.
original posters that was in a movie theater
Got it.
to,
Okay.
to promote the movie in
Wow.
Yeah.
85. Yeah.
I only have a replica, so
Yeah, I
I
have a
don't have,
reprint.
yeah.
I have
So,
a
like, for
reprint.
Yeah,
example,
reprint.
I mean, I've got many of those for the Batman movies. I've been collecting them for years, but for some reason, I mean, we all know the reason, the Back to the Future stuff is way more expensive.
Mhm.
So when you're looking at like original one sheets from 85 or like Goonies, for example, those one sheets go for a lot of money. So
Hmm.
it's just, the condition on it isn't great, but I just know that I own it. So like that's my near and dear to my heart. Like it's better than any autograph or anything else I can get because I know that poster was in a theater to promote that movie and people walked by and looked at it before they went in to see the movie for the first time. And to me, the history behind it is just like a work of art in a museum, like that's
That's
what
so
movie
cool.
posters are to me. And
It's beautiful.
let's be very clear, that artwork on that poster is just iconic. We
Mhm.
love the part 2 artwork. We love the part 3 artwork, but like just Marty in front of the DeLorean standing there by himself. It is one of the most iconic movie posters of all time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I was just thinking about this. Because we're probably not gonna get it. I was gonna try to see if we can get a surprise guest, but there was no reply. Um, I got to interview Jeffrey Weissman, George McFly from part two and part three, and after our interview, he was kind enough to reach back out, ask for my address. He sent me several prints of his personal collection from on set and signed them. So I have those. Those are pretty cool. But yeah, just interview wise for those that are finding this episode and haven't listened to Nostalgic, I've interviewed Ryan, who I believe I forget I forgot if he was singer or what it was, but he's of the Flux Capacitors, the tribute band.
Hmm.
Cassine Gaines, who wrote the book Where We're Going, We Don't Need Roads, which is about the making of
Mhm.
the trilogy, and Jason Aaron, who directed the documentary Back in Time. So some of
Great
those
documentary,
interviews
amazing
are up.
documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I think it's worth a revisit. I love in that particular documentary. I believe it was that one. Michael J. Fox even talks about this couple, uh, Terry and oh, I'm blanking on their name. Oliver, Terry and Oliver Holler. I believe it's
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So Oliver had been diagnosed with like um terminal cancer. And he was and so to kind of keep their long story short, they decided, let's buy a DeLorean, max out the cards, and let's build a time machine before I go. Well, he beat cancer. He's still kicking. And I believe Michael J. Fox in that documentary talks about how they've spent more time in their DeLorean than he has ever, like filming. And so I loved how they were mentioned, and I've formed a bit of a relationship with them for all the times they've stopped by Portland, and they have a really great time machine. And I think Joe Walser, or I forget who it was, but I think when referring to their DeLorean, they talked about how they got a lot of the just the right pieces that look very, very close. But if you know how to build those, you look at those pieces like, well, these aren't quite it, but did such a great job. And their story was they were literally just kind of freeze framing everything and whatever best angle they can get of something.
From
That's
like the
all they were
VHS
able
or
to go off
something,
of.
right? It
Yeah,
was like a really low
exactly.
res. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did an impressive job, and so I always kind of remember that story. And so yeah, they give me a little bit of extra time to kind of play with the DeLorean when they come through, because I like to go and support, give a little to the Fox Foundation and stuff like that.
Always.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, keep an eye out for them. The mic is open for wherever you guys want to take this. Do we want to talk about scenes, quotes, um, just whatever? Fun fact. Now, has there been anything that, call it a loophole or whatever, but did something come to you in the more recent memory in the last 5 to 10 years where it kind of changed how you perceived anything? Like, I'll give you guys an example. And a friend of mine really got on my nerves because he pointed out something that I could not answer. And he says the whole movie is a wash because Einie gets sent 1 minute into the future but never returns. So we're stuck in that timeline or whatever.
An
And my
alternate future.
yeah, and so my response to him was, "Who cares? It's 1 minute." But I had
Oh,
never thought of that way, and he felt so strongly about it that like, well, yeah, Einie was sent 1 minute into the future, and then we get to that 1 minute, then he arrives. So he was talking about like, what reality is it at that point? And I'm just like, dude, it's 1 minute.
Well, also, and we follow Doc and Marty during that minute, so it's the same timeline, right?
Yeah, but I guess
that's how I see
the
it.
the ID that they're getting is 1 minute from the
Younger.
past. Yeah, right. So the ID that they have isn't even their ID. It's an ID that's
Oh,
1 minute younger. And
closer
and
than a
and
But
clone,
it
maybe.
yeah, and he's bothered that the ID doesn't go back to to his present time a minute behind.
Something I never thought of.
I don't know, but if Marty would never come back from 1955, then he just wouldn't be in 1985 anymore. So isn't that the same
It,
Yeah.
thing?
it, it is. I don't know why he was so hung up on that because yeah, the entire movie it's like, well, Marty's never going back to his original timeline anyway.
Because
Right.
like Marvel movies do like alternate realities where if this happened, then that's a different timeline. If this happened, but this like Back to the Future, it's just one straight thing. So if you affect something in the past, it's still the same timeline. That's like so like I don't think that I don't know that never really bothered me. Um, I don't know. Well, I'll talk about something like when I was a
Yeah.
little kid. Um, I related mostly to Marty, and I was always focused on the story. And it never really dawned on me until maybe I was in my 20s. Hey, Doc gets murdered in the beginning of this movie, and like never really
He's a
thought
Drew
about it, but
Barrymore.
like and
Mhm.
and like later I'm watching this movie and like you could see like the tears in Michael J. Fox's eyes as he's talking to Doc because he realizes like I need to save him. Not only do I need to get back to the future, and that's kind of like a subplot I never that didn't dawn on me until later watching the movie. Um, Also, I, I swear, every time I'm watching the first movie, I know Doc's gonna plug in when he's on top of the clock tower. I know he's gonna get to the plug just in time, but I'm always sitting there like, oh my god, he's not gonna make it. He's not gonna make it. He's not gonna make it. Um, I don't know. Those are just different things I think when I watch.
And
But
that moment, Mikey, that's one of the most, pun intended, electrifying moments with a crowd. Also watching it with a live orchestra when Doc zip lines that and he, plugs it in just in time. Everyone's applauding if you're not standing up and cheering. It's
Yeah.
just it's a really great moment for sure. Justin, we're just kind of just wherever. Um,
I I,
Yeah.
I always
uh,
I, I always see something new every time I watch it, even though it's been hundreds and hundreds of times. So last night when I watched Back to the Future Part One, I um I was trying to decide what format to watch it on because I have so many, and I was like, I've never watched it on streaming because I have so much physical media. So I was like, it's on Hulu, I think Disney, Hulu, whatever. So I watched it on Hulu, and it was weird. It was very clear,
okay.
uh,
Was it
like
4K?
hyper clear. Hmm?
Was it 4K or
It said HD, and I don't know why.
okay.
So, but I have the 4Ks, but it seemed clearer, like they did something to it, and it seemed like maybe 18 frames a second,
DNR,
huh?
digital noise reduction,
Yeah, and
is
it
what
was
they did
like
to it.
18 or 20 frames per second. It just wasn't what I was used to. It wasn't 24 for some reason. And like I went on other things on Hulu and I was trying, but it was just that thing. But anyway, I watched it anyway because I hadn't watched it before. And I noticed in this time watching it that Marty just turns off, the speaker and the amp in the beginning as he's walking by it. I never noticed that before. I was like, huh.
Oh, he turns it on like to kind of get
Yeah,
it warmed
after it
up.
all explodes, he turns it off while he's on the phone with Doc.
oh yeah, yeah.
I
I
never noticed
gotcha.
that. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
every time I notice something because at this point you're watching the background actors, you're watching the
Right.
set.
I, I mean, was there movies with Easter eggs before this movie? Like it's probably not the first, but like I feel
Oh,
like
I'm
this
sure it's
really
not.
maybe possibly made Easter eggs popular, like just different things that change because of what
Like
Marty
the
traveling in the
Harry
past did.
Lloyd, Harry Lloyd in the beginning on one of the
Yeah,
clocks.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So different things like that. If you watch it, it's yeah.
That's a good
Um,
one. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, in the opening sequence when we're panning through Doc Brown's office or room. I'm not sure what we're calling it, but you see all the different clocks. There's one of the clocks has a man hanging on it, and people thought it was like foreshadowing back in the day before IMDb probably. And
Mhm.
it is a movie. I forget the name of the movie, but the actor is Harry Lloyd. It's a black and white
Yeah.
film, and I think they've actually shown this on. On different footages, like Netflix's The Movies That Made Us or other documentaries, or they've shown clips from that movie where the actor Harry Lloyd is hanging literally on a clock like Doc Brown does.
It's so interesting to think, though, in retrospect, because we live in a world today where there's so much effort that goes into making new movies, but yet at the same time, I highly doubt any amount of effort could ever go into a movie the same way the effort went into Back to the Future from Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis, and the history behind them trying to make the movie and being shut out by every studio, Disney, you fill in the blank, and then Spielberg finding the thing and being like, I love this, I'm going to produce this, and him just actually taking a chance with the movie and it becoming something so culturally relevant to that, we're 40 years later sitting here talking about this movie. It is more culturally relevant than I think. I'm going to have people come after me in some way, but any of the Marvel movies, maybe the first Avengers will have the cultural relevance in 40 years from its date, but Back to the Future did the same thing that a lot of movies did back then, where it hit a spot with audiences that just really resonated in such a huge way. And I think it's just the human element of what it would feel like to be in this situation. And movies don't really do that much anymore. It's more about the grander approach to everything. And I'm a film critic. I review new movies every single week. Pete, you know that. It's what I do, is my main job, or my second job, really. I like to pretend it's my main job. But Back to the Future did something that nailed critics and audiences and captured both of their minds, and did it in a way that it also depresses me. I don't know if you guys agree or not, but when you're watching a movie today, you're like, you can see the influence. I think, Albie, you said the same thing. Like, you can see the influence from Back to the Future in so many different things since then, but nothing has ever come close to topping it or even getting close to it. And I think like that for me is like, well, there's certain movies, and I tell my daughter who's 21 this all the time. I say, you're not ever going to touch that. And she's like, maybe we will when you're dead. And I'm like, no, you won't. I'm not trying to be the guy, the naysayer or anything like that. But like, truly, do we ever think there's going to be something that will touch Zemeckis' Back to the Future, or Spielberg's Jaws, or Tim Burton's Batman, or fill in the blank? You could really do that in so many different ways. But I wanted to get to a point, though, Pete, for you.
Okay.
Because this is the line that I say all the time, every single day, whenever my wife says something and I'm not paying attention. I know you can already say it for me, but I'm going to do it. What, Lorraine? What? I do that I've been doing that ever since I met her. She knows that I'm not paying attention. She's like, she just starts blabbing on. I'm like, what, Lorraine? What?
It's such a great delivery from Crispin Glover.
Yes.
Like George knows exactly. He knows exactly what she's talking about, but it's like the way he responds. It's like, don't you bring this up in front of them. I'm gonna deny it.
I used to get a whole box of peanut brittle and just pour it into a old glass bowl and just.
I always watch the episode of Honeymooners later that night after I watch Back to the Future. Usually, The Man from Space.
That's an amazing episode.
Oh yeah,
it's an amazing episode. I got into that show because of Back to the Future. But I don't think it was on TV Land. I don't think it was. I don't think it was back in the day when we were.
For me, it was. I might be a little bit older.
Was it on TV Land?
I watched it on Channel 11 WPIX New York.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. I grew up watching TV Land, but I always wanted to see that episode, and both episodes were, when the episode when he's at home and the episode when he sees his mom in the past, and he's like, "Oh, I've seen this one. It's a rerun." What do you mean?
What's
this is brand new?
Yeah.
So I went back and rewatched those episodes.
My daughter's 13, and she says those Back to the Future references all the time. Anytime she can fit him. She's a cool kid.
She really is cooler than me, I would say. But I don't know why I have never searched out that episode, and actually you guys inspired me to do so, like sooner than later for sure.
Watch the whole series. It's on Blu-ray. It's really good.
I don't know about the whole series, but I'll watch that episode.
I'm a nostalgia kind of guy.
Do it.
Yeah,
me too,
because Marty seems to like it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I feel like I brought this up on the 35th anniversary episode, but where do you guys land on Marty? Such a nice name, but they waited to the third kid to name him Marty. And we can also lump this into the discussion of whether or not, they knew that this is the same
bootstrap,
Marty,
right?
That
Where did the name come from? The bootstrap paradox.
I don't believe they knew. Like, there's people. I was telling my kids today. There's people, because they asked me that same question actually after seeing the musical last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling them, there's people in high school I don't remember, and I was telling them, I remember that my cousin dated this girl, and I can picture that she had blonde hair. I can't picture her face. I think her name's Christy. Maybe it's Christina. I don't know. I don't remember people. I deliver mail. I'm a mail carrier. If we didn't say that, I was delivering mail inside of a mall, and I had someone come up to me, and they're like, "Hey, Mikey," and I'm like, "Hello," and they're like, "It's such and such from high school," and I'm like, "Cool."
But come on, the eyes though. The eyes. I don't think Marty's brother and sister had blue eyes, and he did, right?
I think they
Uh,
definitely
I don't
remember
know
him
about
because
Wendy. Yeah.
she had the hots for him, and you know, and Marty was trying to coach George the whole week, basically, right?
Yeah.
It was one week in your little teens.
Right. I think I'm with Mikey on this one because it's like he was there for a week. He was instrumental into them hooking up. But when you lose touch with somebody and then completely forget them, then now you're like, what do they look like and whatever. I actually just had a 20th high school reunion like I think a couple years
did you
ago.
go? Did you go?
I went. I
Did you
went.
have fun?
I
Did
had
you
a
dress
great
like Marty
time.
McFly?
I did not, but I
Did
did
you
dress
tell
like
them
myself
how
from
amazing everything's been
the early
going with your family and the podcast and everything? How you're a big
Absolutely.
celebrity and stuff?
Yeah, well, I don't know about that last part, but I definitely talked about the podcast and stuff. But I had someone come up to me, right? So that we kind of made eye contact. I'm like, oh no, I don't recognize this person, and they beeline to me and was like, hey Peter, and thank God for name tags, right? So I greet this person,
Well, dude,
hello,
it also
you
helps
know,
not to cut off, but like, dude, you look so fucking young, dude. You look the
Yeah.
yeah,
same
thank
way
you.
that you
Well, he's a
looked
vampire.
5 years ago, dude. You look literally like your picture from like 10 years ago when
He
I first
looks
met
like
you.
Thank
when I
you.
met him 12 years ago. Exactly.
You
A lot
look
of people
so
were
good,
saying that,
dude.
like
You
I
got
still look
those
like high
Asian genes,
school,
dude. You can't beat that shit,
Yep.
dude.
But
You could still be in that boy band.
I could
Yep.
I'd be like the Joey, I guess. Well, he looks the oldest. I don't know if he's actually the oldest of NSYNC,
Mm.
but the person comes up to me. I greet them by their name, hello, and they're like, I remember on the day we graduated, this happened, and I go, oh, that wasn't me, and they're like, oh no, like I remember vividly, like it was at the graduation party. I mean, not the party, but the actual the venue where we had the graduation. There was this accident, and you were in it. I go, I think I would remember that, and because graduation, like you said. But I have pictures of like where I was taking pictures of outside the building the following year. One of my best friends graduated a year after me. He got into an accident on the day of graduation that I was also there for. So I don't know if there's a mix up in the two people, but this person was like, no, that was you. I'm like, 100% that was not me. And Cecil, like that, 20 years ago, and the person kind of misremembered what they remembered me from the day we graduated. So just one of those things. But Marty was a name that just kind of like they're like, oh, what do we name the third kid? Maybe Dave or Linda. Wait, Linda, right? Dave and Linda.
Maybe it would have been the second kid if the second kid was a boy. So let's
Right,
go with
right.
that.
So
Oh, like, oh, we
those
forgot about
first two
Marty. We're supposed to name
names,
it Marty.
yeah, like I think they were like family names. That was like, oh, your Uncle David. He's always been lovely. It's something
Marty's
like
a great
that. And
name,
then
just
like,
not as good as Dave.
yeah,
That's all.
the
Uncle
third kid,
Joey.
like, yeah, Marty. Oh yeah, well, yeah, it
My
could have been
friends,
Uncle Joey.
I got to get
Yeah.
out of here.
Okay,
Oh,
My wife let
Justin.
the dogs down here and they're ravaging my collection. So I have to get out of here, which
good
means the
God.
No
wife is
problem.
telling me to get upstairs. So
Well,
before
thank
I
you for
leave,
gracing us still with
Nice
your
to meet you,
experience and your
Justin.
memories
Yeah, it was
and
nice
lovely
meeting
all of
you.
you, I
Lucasfilm.
wish I could stay because I'm having a great time, but my dogs are down here and they're getting into my old vintage toys and stuff and they're going to chew the shit out of them, which means my
Oh
wife's
yeah,
like,
no, you
get up
need to go
here
stop that
now.
immediately, and we'll have you back on sooner than later to talk about another '80s
Anytime, dude.
film.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Seriously.
all right,
Great
dude.
time. Nice meeting you, LB and
All right,
Mikey as well. Seriously. Great time.
Yes.
all right. Thanks for jumping in, Justin. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. Okay, let's see
Do you want a
here.
fourth, Peter? I could message Chris.
If you want to shoot him a text, you just to let him know that we're not necessarily wrapping up, but we are kind of in the middle of the discussion of Back to the Future if he's not doing anything else. But yeah, just if he decides to jump on, that he may not be on for long, just so he doesn't think.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And while this is gonna suck because I was hoping to ask Justin this question as well. But Albie, are you privy? Ooh,
Am I still
uh,
there? Are we still there?
yes. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, he left his camera on.
He did, yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't
oh,
disrobe. We're not live. Are we live?
oh, we're still live, and we'll continue on just in case he
We're
joins
live.
us. I had to reply to a text message. We'll see.
Okay.
Albie, do
Yes.
you know how Cobra Kai ended?
Not yet. No
Uh,
spoilers, please.
Okay,
Oh,
this is not a spoiler. This does
Okay.
happen in the final sequence. It was really an Easter egg for Easter egg's sake, and just a little something that's nothing for the fans.
Mephisto, right?
Um, it involves Back to the Future and has nothing to do with Cobra Kai.
Okay.
So in
Hmm.
the final sequence of Cobra Kai, we see two of the three creators, and there is a little discussion that we kind of jump in the middle of. Let me just read this overview here. The Cobra Kai series finale concludes with a playful nod to Back to the Future, hinting at a potential future project for the show's creators. In a post-credit scene, the creators John Hurwitz and Josh Heald are shown discussing a Back to the Future reboot set in alternate 1985 Hill Valley, even referencing actors like Thomas F. Wilson, Leah Thompson, and Billy Zane. While not a direct sequel, this scene serves as a fun Easter egg and wishful thought from the creators who acknowledge the challenges of securing the rights for a project. They even tease that they might have Mike direct, and we're all assuming it's Michael J. Fox, obviously.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. I can't wait to see that.
But was is that something you would welcome? We all know the story of Bob Gale and Zemeckis saying over their dead bodies,
I, I
will
would say
there ever
no.
be, yeah, you don't want
I
anything?
I would say no. Sometimes things are just perfect. I mean, what
Yeah,
comes to mind is like I was just watching Alison Pregler's video on The Lion King, live action. That's just a different 3D animation. When a film is perfect and you remake it, maybe you'll go see it, maybe you'll spend the ticket money, but you're never gonna really get into it, watch it again. Maybe a new generation will, but Back to the Future is one of those perfect films like Casablanca or Citizen Kane or
right.
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, they remade It's a Wonderful Life, but it sucks. I mean, it wouldn't be good
true.
because it would be
Right.
missing everything that the magic because that's what Back to the Future has. I think that magic that connects everyone to it that sees it. So I would say no, don't do that.
Mikey.
So I'm glad you asked this because I want to talk about this. So, well, first of all, there's the video game, the Telltale video game,
Right.
Yep, that's great.
and
I enjoyed that.
yeah, and that's great. And I would take another one of those. But I do think what makes Back to the Future very special is that there's very little of it. There's only three movies, and every other
Mhm.
franchise has 17 movies now. There's nine Star Wars movies, or 11 Star Wars movies, or whatever it is now, or
Yeah,
and I
maybe you
think
care
it
about four or five of them, maybe.
exactly, and
Yeah.
there's people talk about the good ones and the bad ones, and
Hmm.
I no one ever. I mean, people have their feelings about Back to the Future Part Three, but I don't think there's a bad Back to the Future movie.
No.
That being said, yeah, if they made one, listen, I'd go to the theater and watch it. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
but
they get
you
my
know,
money, but I'd be mad
yeah,
about it.
but at this point, in reality, I don't think you can bring back Michael J. Fox. I
Hmm.
don't know that you could bring back Christopher Lloyd. God bless him. Um, so it would probably have to be like a movie focusing on Jules and Vern and um, Marty Jr. and whatever his
In the
daughter's
same
name.
universe,
Yeah,
maybe, but
something like maybe the whole movie is them searching. Doc gets lost in time, and they find him. And you have like a cameo from Christopher Lloyd at the end, and they find Doc. Something like that. I'd watch, but honestly, I don't think I want. Like, I'm fine with the occasional comic book and video game and everything. I don't
yeah, more
I
isn't
don't want to
necessarily
ruin it.
better.
Is my thing, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to reboot or anything like that. Prior to 2015, I've always joked I'd welcome like uh, George Lucas re-edit, with the cast as they are now to play the Back to the Future 2 versions of the alternate 2015. That would have been kind of interesting to see. I think anything that is made after like if you could make something else that's in the Back to the Future world, if it has to be like after a passing of both Bobs, um, there's going to be a lot of like it's going to come with a lot of baggage. It's not going to be an
Mhm.
easy feat. but they will get my money. I would like the idea of them kind of taking ideas from a lot of things that we've been given over the few decades. Do I have something? What's
I'm talking to my son. If you're looking at me, I'm
oh,
sorry.
okay. But
Sorry.
just to kind of take ideas from the different things that we've gotten over the decades and make something out of that, like the Telltale games, like that took place in '86, so it's a continuation from like after the trilogy. And like some of these other games that we got that I couldn't figure out how to play, and I'm watching like endless YouTube videos on how to. But and even to include, the ideas of the animated series, maybe not necessarily even following Jules and Vern. What if they are included, but not who we're following? What if it's a Marty McFly Jr., cast as, someone kind of like a, Tom Holland, only because like people have been making the
Yeah,
images,
That's what I
he
was
would be a
gonna
good
something
Marty.
like that.
Yeah.
Years ago, I would have asked for Anton Yelchin, to
Yeah,
be a
Oh
Marty
yeah.
McFly. I think he would have been great. But follow
it's
someone like
weird.
him, and yeah, maybe go
It's
look for, Marty and Doc who are lost in time.
it's weird. I say no, 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 definitely don't touch it. But I went all the way to New York City to see Back to the Future the musical, and I absolutely loved it. So maybe I
That
don't
was
know
a
what the hell
remake
I'm
in
talking
itself.
about. Yeah,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
exactly.
story's a
And I
little
loved it.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
a little different. I love the Brown. It was the original that you guys saw. I think I
yeah.
saw a different Marty.
Okay. Uh,
But
Casey
yeah, I
something
loved it.
rather.
So
Casey
Yeah,
likes
mhm.
that
uh
sounds right. But the musical, we could talk a little bit about that. That was like watching a remake. It was a completely different cast, and there were things that they did differently because it wouldn't translate on screen. One of
Yeah,
my favorite musical numbers is actually from George when he's bird watching and he's up in the tree, and it ends with him falling on Marty, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, instead
sounds
of
familiar.
him
Yeah, instead of
peeping,
getting
he's
hit by a car.
Hmm.
yeah. Yes. I think the doc is dying from or would die from radiation poisoning instead
Yeah,
of the
instead of
terrorist.
bullets. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
Um,
sense.
um,
I think I
I
texted
like
you that
the
night you went, Peter, to tell me all the differences and stuff, and you were so great about telling me everything that was different. So when I
did I
finally got to
really?
go see it, I was okay with all the changes.
Um, one of the other big ones that I liked was, they can't do the skateboard car chase scene in Hill
Hmm.
Valley
oh yeah.
Square. So that was in the lunchroom, and I like that one too, because cause
Hmm.
now you
Yes.
kind of minimize it to more Marty and Biff.
What they do with the DeLorean in that show on stage
It's
is
amazing.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. And even the clock tower scene with Doc on top, and then
Hmm.
it's some of it's what I want to say, it's like a screen, I believe, and then but how they do it is amazing for a stage production. So
Hmm.
Yeah,
spoilers for the
absolutely.
Broadway show, by the way, if you're at this point.
Uh, any
I was
other
sad that it
big?
closed, but it's
Yeah,
cool that it's touring. I'm gonna get a chance to see it, I think, in a few months locally.
I know they just went
That's
through
awesome.
Portland. I don't know if so and how soon. It was one of those things people were like, "Oh, are you gonna go?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I would love to see it again, but I already saw it, and I
Hmm.
also just went to go see like a lot of the cast members from Cobra Kai recently as well. So, gotta start saving up again."
I,
Uh,
I think that what I hear from the traveling version, because Chris went to three, Chris saw it three times, my podcasting partner. And one time was, I think, in like Poughkeepsie or something. The only difference is the DeLorean doesn't fly over the audience at all.
Oh,
I guess they don't have a
oh,
mobile setup for that, which makes sense.
oh yeah.
But other than that, it's the same.
they did that for us, right? They flew.
It flew out. It
Yeah,
turned because I was talking to my kids. I think it like did it like at least went sideways. Did it go upside down
For
too?
me, it went upside down,
Yeah, okay. Because I
yeah.
was asking them and they said no, it didn't go upside down. They
like
actually
some kind of crazy strong robot arm or something.
yeah,
I don't know
when
how they
they
did it.
um they actually had technical issues in the performance last night in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh. So my kids said they had like a 20-minute surprise intermission, like stand by, we're
Hmm.
fixing the time
That's
circuits
not
or
bad.
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the
But